This has been something that the people have wanted for a really long time.
The prize money is like rivaling that of some of the majors.
I want to turn it into something from a hobby that people do into their full-time career.
I think whoever wins majority of the PSL competitions is going to be the face of NA.
As we say around the circles I'm in, it's not really part of the plot. Who can handle the pressure under the lights? Who is the person that can actually perform when it really matters?
It's gonna get this allure to it, I guess. That's what Marinick was saying.
Let's change cubing forever. I'll see you guys on the other side.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Speak Cubing TV. This is Plotworthy with Matthew Marinick, and I am here with the CEO of the newly announced Premier Speak Cubing League, Michael Chai, and I'm here with also a future contestant of the league, Dylan Miller. Guys, this is going to be a very exciting conversation. The future of Speak Cubing is looking very, very bright. I guess, Chai, for the first part of this talk, I kind of want you to go into what's your vision for this league, what's the format, and what do you hope this achieves for both cubing and the sport as a whole.
Yeah, well, first, I wanted to thank you for having me on your channel. I really think what you're doing is super awesome with Speedkeeping TV and Happy Feet Production. So I want to see that continue to grow. But as far as the vision for the league, when I was originally thinking about this idea with friends and stuff like that, I was really, really focused on how can we support the future of professional cubing. And really, I honed around to a very simplistic answer is I wanted to give professional cubers an opportunity to make a living doing what they love to do and make a living doing what they're really passionate about. And that's really driving everything about the Premier Speedkeeping League as a way to kind of break this current issue that exists in the cubing space. I want to turn it into something from a hobby that people do into their full-time career. I'm sure for a lot of people that might resonate, and for every single person that might mean something a little bit different. I do see this going on for a really long time, and I hope to see that with the model that we're going to use, that it's sustainable for growth.
Yeah, I think one of the interesting things I've even seen just on Dylan's stream a lot is, talking about how in a lot of ways the cubing community isn't really set up for, a big major, spectator event for top cubers to kind of market themselves and advertise themselves. I guess, Chai, what's kind of the format of this event to, kind of make it based around that spectator experience, and how do you plan on achieving that?
Yeah, so let me briefly explain how the event's going to work, because not only is the format important, it's the actual experience in itself. And the word experience is really foundational here. Of course, we have standard Rubik's Cube competitions, right, that a lot of people know and love. But what we're trying to do is we're trying to create a convention-like experience at each of these local events so that people are able to buy tickets and have a great time. So I would like to think about it as a traditional speed cubing competition in conjunction with something you might see from Cube Camp, in conjunction from something you might see in Comic Con, anything that you're really passionate about. I want to turn it into some sort of version of a puzzle convention. That way there's things for people to do throughout that time. But of course, the main event is competition, right? That's what people are there to watch. So the way that it's going to work is we're going to have, at this time, 64 people compete in a 64-person double elimination bracket. It's going to be varied of how many solves you're going to achieve. So we're going to have people go head-to-head against each other. For example, it's going to start with people going best 3 out of 5, first to 1 set, first to 2 sets, and we're going to continue to expand how many sets are going to be interesting to the viewing audience. And this is also something that's going to be really important here. We're going to expand on that format continuously until we find that Goldilocks spot of what people really enjoy watching, as well as what these competitors enjoy doing. So we're going to explore things like best 4 out of 7, best 5 out of 9, how many sets we want to do. We want to make it really expansive. As far as how that head-to-head format is going to allow us to do things, it's going to allow us to have some second gen advanced statistics. So if you're familiar with the National Basketball Association, right, or football, anything that might be interesting to you, we're going to take these statistics and make something really fun out of it. We're going to be able to have clutch factor ratings. We're going to be able to have win loss ratios, things that are going to be really interesting to the audience based on this specific format. Of course, when 64 people are competing, we're going to consolidate it to 8 people advancing to a double elimination bracket. And that 8-person bracket will be streamed on Speedcubing TV, and we'll be able to show everyone who the best cuber that day is.
Yeah, Dylan, this is kind of a a new format that's not really seen and not really done too often is the head to head. And it's gonna be in like not necessarily just online, but it's gonna be in person. What do you think kind of like the dynamics gonna be for the competitors? What's gonna be the differences in like, the solving conditions and how do you think that's gonna impact kind of the play of these tournaments?
Well, I think this competition is going to be much more similar to any type of like major that we've seen previously. I think it puts a lot more pressure on every single solve, and especially when it's a head-to-head format. If you compare that to something like the average of five format, there's a lot less room for having a bad solve. Like if you have a bad solve, it's not just it doesn't count. You can make up in the last four. It's literally every solve matters at all times, especially if you're going against top level competitors in the double elim bracket. There's so much more pressure on a loss where if you go to losers, then your run just becomes so much more challenging. So every match just means a lot more for your run and for your overall viability and getting further in the league.
Yeah, who do you think kind of performs best in these kind of formats? I mean, right now as it currently stands, it's kind of rewarding on like, you do your five solves and you kind of just compare on a leaderboard where this is more of like you're going 1v1 against someone and it's more like you're going against the competitor versus going against just like the individual scrambles. Like who do you think in the current field is going to, perform and how do you think you're personally going to perform in this event?
I don't think I can name many names as to who I think is going to perform well. I think the characteristics you need are you need to be able to be solid. You don't want to be somebody who's inconsistent, right? Inconsistency is just going to lead to people taking advantage of your bad solves if they are more consistent than you, even if on average they are maybe zero point 0.2, zero point 0.3 slower, whatever it may be. I think people, like I said, consistency is very important, and then also just like raw speed, and then being able to execute day of, right? Like I said, this is a much more high pressure environment. You could say people like Luke Garrett, Luke Greiser are going to perform very well. We've seen them do well on big stages in high pressure situations. Maddie as well could do well. He performed really well in All Star finals. Just anybody who can bring it day of and does not care about who's watching them. As for me, if you know my results, I haven't had the greatest history in majors, so I think this is maybe an opportunity for me to turn that narrative around and hopefully show that I can perform on a bigger stage. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see who's actually going to come out on top.
Yeah, I think something that's really interesting is just the idea that like, you know, cubing as a whole is now moving into a place where it's going to be able to be extremely marketed well, and it's also going to bring in a lot of other, areas of cubing that we don't necessarily see that often, such as coaching. So I know you do like have a coaching service, Dylan, and you're coaching people to get faster at cubing. What do you think is going to be like the change in terms of cubing? Where do you think top level solvers in the United States, since there's going to be more money in it, there's going to be more sponsors in it with larger events, that there'll be coaches like necessary to have for top level solvers? And do you think that's going to be something that will change cubing and maybe new uprising talent, as there's now more opportunities in the sport?
Yeah, I think coaching at top level is very, very interesting. If you look at other similar head-to-head formats, so take for example like the fighting game community, or I've been watching a lot of bowling lately. There are top level competitors who have coaches who their entire job is to exert their mental effort to figure out what is going good and what is going bad in their chosen competitors' results. So I think I've had experience looking at people solves, and even if we're like roughly the same speed, it's good to have an outside perspective on what is going good or bad in your solves. And I think that's something that could be very viable, especially in a format like this where you have to make each solve count. If you try your. Hmm. I think coaching is just going to be very important going forward overall. Whether or not it goes all the way through remains to be seen, I think. But we've seen in China that there are a lot of top level solvers who have been getting coaching for their entire career, and that's really been beneficial for them. So I think we're just going to see the market go towards whatever works best, and we've seen it work in China. So I think it'll probably make its way over to the U.S.
Yeah, from my understanding so far, this league is kind of a predominantly U.S. so far. Chai, did you kind of get your inspiration for just seeing like, all right, this is kind of working in China with GAN SSL, and this is something that'd be really cool to bring to the U.S. Like, is that kind of where you drew the inspiration? And also, is this something that you foresee growing to lots of different areas, maybe outside the United States, maybe to Europe? And what's kind of like the long-term goal then for like sustainability of the league?
Mm. Well, first off, I think you asked me like 4 questions, so if I forget
Yes, I
one,
did.
and I'll just answer it real quick. But as far as where the inspiration for the PSL comes from, it's multifaceted. So I'd be lying to you if I said the GAN SSL wasn't something that made me think about how we could make cubing bigger and better. Not just here in the United States, but just all over the world, right? And I say that because, as we all know, the GAN SSL is China centric. That means it's not going to have difficulty expanding in other areas as well. But as far as inspiration is concerned, I've been inspired from traditional sports broadcasts, the traditional sports route, esports route, but also having a lot of inspiration, being connected to the top cubers and understanding that this is really something that they're looking for. And also, if you look at just your, general cubers such as myself, a lot of us are interested in the entertainment component of cubing. Of course, we all want to have a chance to compete, and we have avenues for that. But when we're looking for entertainment, we're usually looking towards those top cubers and how they're doing. You see that successful on Twitch, on YouTube. You see that successful on large live streams and content creation as well. Um, and just talking to these individuals, I've understood that this has been something that the people have wanted for a really long time. From, young Joe Schmo, 10 years old, all the way up to, where I'm at, too old to really be competitive anymore. Um, yes, I've thought about what we can do in other areas of the world, but really we're US based for the simple fact that we need to have proof of concept that our operational success is replicatable. We need to make sure that we can pull this off. Otherwise, what are we going to do in other areas, right? If it's successful, which we believe it will, we'll of course consider expanding to where all of the top cubers in the entire world are. Um, there are definitely ways to do that. And yeah, as far as how I think that'll be achievable, well, that's a trade secret. Really, like I do believe that it's gonna be, able to grow and be successful. But I have my reasons and abilities to pull that off. So I could explain, but probably it's just having the belief that this will be successful in a multi-year run of competitive cubing. Did I forget anything that you were asking?
No, I mean, other than kind of gatekeeping the answers to sustainability, I think
I
answered
can't
it
share
for the
everything,
most part.
unfortunately.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I guess in general, then are like Chai, are you kind of like green pilled on the idea of like actually that's not the right proper terminology. What's the one that greenlit on the idea that cubing's going to grow in the future, that this is like here to stay, that like it's going to continue to grow, or do you? Because like I mean, I've even kind of thought myself like you see there's a big boom in like 2020 to like 2022, and then by the time you get to like you know 2023, you kind of see like a little bit less people joining competitions and stuff. Do you see is this as like the next resurgence of, you know, uh cubing becoming a big thing? And then another thing kind of like in the back of my head is like when Red Bull happened, like there's a lot of people who were against that and didn't want that. And this is also, I mean, obviously it's coming from within the community. Like people are, it's someone within the community who understands cubers putting it on versus like a complete different organization. But do you think the cubing community will accept this? And then do you think that, cubing will continue to grow? And do you think that's maybe because of this league? or do you think just in general cubing is on like a pace to grow a ton?
Yeah, so one thing I really aim to do is the PSL is going to be really focused on how we execute our marketing campaign. And by having a very attainable format and a great actual event that we host throughout the years, we'll be able to execute that. One of the issues with keeping thus far is we haven't been able to market ourselves very well. So I think we'll be able to contribute greatly to the continued discovery and growth of cubing. I challenge anyone right now, even at the state that it is today, cubing is actually pretty big if you think about it. But you just bring a Rubik's Cube, you go on the subway, and let's say you have an extra one, right? You solve, you solve, you solve. Someone's going to look at you and they're going to ask you what's going on. Like, can you show them how you're doing it? And if you offer them that second cube in your backpack, their eyes are gonna light up. They're gonna be like, that is insane. I love this. I don't have to go to Target, get one. And they're gonna be enamored. They're probably gonna figure out how to solve a cube. I mean, you've given them a gift from God from what they're thinking, right? Just that interaction, and I guarantee that will happen, right? Just that singular interaction that I can forecast that happening, I think shows that the Rubik's Cube has a ton of discovery potential, and we're going to hit that boom. And yes, I believe we're going to facilitate that. What was your second question?
Oh, I was just kind of the whole idea of like, is cubing growing in general as it is now, and do you think PSL is going to facilitate like the growth of further cubing, and like how do you think that's going to work?
Yeah, I mean, I think it will. I have no doubt in my mind. I am really optimistic with how we'll be able to help the growth of cubing. Of course, I mean the ability to showcase our work will be really crucial here, um, and really showcase a professional side to cubing that doesn't really exist yet.
Yeah, and I guess kind of for this league format as of now, is it how many different events are you planning on doing, and like what's kind of the prize money involved with it?
Yeah, so right now the idea is that we're gonna split up our events into seasons. So when we're launching right now, our launch is for season one, and we're gonna be going up to 6 events for that season. And each event is gonna be a cash prize of $1,000 for the winner of the 3x3. And then we do have plans for something really fun at the end of each season. That way, when we're calculating rankings and stuff of that nature, we'll have a really fun way to reward the community. And I just want people to be excited for that. And then, of course, at the conclusion of our special event and our 6 events, we'll refresh the season to season two, season three, and etc.
Yeah, totally. Dylan, are you prepared to travel around the country to hit all these events? And do you think a lot of cubers will, like top solvers, will follow suit in doing that?
Dude, I'm excited. I'm ready to travel. I'm ready to compete in like every tournament I can for PSL. I think it's going to be a great opportunity for everyone involved. I think you'll see a lot of the NA solvers as well go to these competitions. The prize money is like rivaling that of some of the majors, and I think it's a lot more achievable if there's more of those happening for the top level solvers to attend in hopes of them winning it all. And so I think just through the fact that it's a lot more likely that they can have an opportunity to win means that they're going to show up to not just the one, but as many as is feasible.
Do you think a lot of cubers will switch to becoming a lot more 3x3 focused after this league just because it's a 3x3 only competition? Or do you think like, you know, people like I guess in general, do you think it's just going to make a shift in cubing to be more 3x3 focused, and you're going to see like a lot more people trying to get coached up in 3x3 or focus their time on 3x3, just because it's what like the PSL tournaments are doing?
I think it's been a well-known thing in the community already that 3x3 is what makes money. If you are trying to be a sponsored cuber, you are going to get by far more than anybody else if you are a 3x3 solver. Without 3x3, the entire WCN, whatever we have nowadays, wouldn't have existed in the first place, right? 3x3 is what you think of when you think of the Rubik's Cube. So I think this just kind of ingrains that more in the community culture that 3x3 is, I think, the most important thing, and I think it will remain to be that way. I think NA has an interesting culture around the fact that we prioritize all-arounding a lot more than places like China. And I think that's why China's a lot better than NA, because they really only care about 2x2, 3x3, and that's about it. And that's why they're so much better, because they specialize in those events, and they've taken over pretty much way more than NA ever has. So I think you could see a shift into that, maybe more of like the Chinese culture coming over here, where, like you're saying, yeah, people will start getting coaches. They're going to really specialize in one event, 3x3, and they're going to do that because that's just where the money's at. And you go where the money's at if you want to be a professional keeper.
Yeah, what do you think when it comes to just like in general, like new cubers coming into the sport, and when new solvers come in and they might like shock the world? Do you see it coming through now, like the PSL tournaments as like a way to do that, where it's a play in, you can qualify into the finals of any PSL tournament, top 64, or just 64 people, and then you go to top 8, and that's like the live stream part of one of these tournaments. Do you foresee there being like the US chosen one to then, go on and take on the world? Do you think that's what's going to happen with like these PSL tournaments? Do you think it allows for that to be showcased and allow more stars to be born?
Yeah, I mean, I think whoever wins majority of the PSL competitions is going to be the face of NA, right? I think NA is very wide open in terms of who's actually the best. I mean, some of the candidates are the Luke G's, Maddie, Max, but everybody kind of has their space where they've done well, and I don't think anyone's actually taken the spot for themselves. So I think if all the top NA solvers attend all 6 of these competitions and we see who comes out on top majority of the time, I think that is a very telling showcase of who is actually the NA's last hope, if you want. And I think that'll be really, really interesting to see, because I think there's a lot of debates going around, and I think it'll kind of put a lot of those to rest if we see who's actually the best.
Yeah, and I guess one of the kind of the hopes of something like this is to reinvigorate, because like right now, if you're a kid in China, you have a lot of opportunity to become like, I would say like a professional cuber, but you have a lot more tournaments, a lot more ones with a lot more money in it. And this is something where like you kind of have that, but for the US. So it gives more opportunities, more parents reasons to spend money in coaching. It allows for, you know, kids to have more reasons to compete and all of that. Um, Chai, you kind of talked about how like even at these tournaments, there's going to be a lot more of a focus on a convention. Can you kind of go into a little bit of like what a convention looks like? Is there going to be vending there? Like what kind of things will the PSL bring to a tournament?
Yeah, so definitely there's going to be vending in each PSL event, but we're going to just create an experience where people are just going to be able to walk around the venue space and really have something interactive with them. So we're going to have our innovative technology booths that we're going to be showcasing throughout each event. We're actually going to help out our parent cubers, right? I hear a lot of feedback. Sorry, I don't know if you guys can hear my cat, but he's complaining right now. But we want to facilitate, we want to help our parent keepers by providing them some coffees and snacks and a place for them to meet up away from all the chaos that happens at traditional keeping competitions, right? And we're going to be working with partners to showcase, fun things with you guys, whether it's the cube clubs, whether it's said, well, I'll think of something right now that, we could easily do to create a fun experience, but hey, let's create like a mini chess tournament within this PSL booth. A lot of keepers are chess players. Why don't we give them a space where they can have fun against each other and do something fun? There's going to be a lot of interesting ideas. Obviously, we're going to do mosaics, right? But the idea is that when you go from the left side of the venue to the right side of the venue and then to the front of the venue, there's going to be something for you. We're also going to be providing opportunities for people to line up and meet their favorite keepers at each event with autograph and photos with their favorite keepers. And that will be in a specific booth area as well. So right now we're in a very still grassroots stage of what cubing conventions look like. But I hope that with intentional execution that it'll continue to grow. Because really, I want these competitions to be more than a space where you just see friends. It has to be an amazing experience from beginning to end.
Yeah, what do you think the value proposition is then for like a non-cuber who shows up to an event like this? Say they just see it, you know, at the University of San Diego or University of California San Diego's campus and stuff, and they walk in, how are you going to draw those people into the sport of speed cubing? Like, what are all the different elements that will, you know, specifically be used to try to draw them into the sport?
Yeah, so of course we're gonna invite spectators who are not cubers to join us at these events. And really, it's for lack of a better term, we want to give them the aura of the actual event to be able to just be shocked at how amazing this event is. Being able to meet all the relevant people that are at an event, but also I mean, our broadcast is going to be very, very intense. And for those spectators specifically, they're going to be sat down watching from beginning to end, and they won't be able to stop. What I hope is that they become fanboys of Dylan Miller, right? I hope that they come away being Dylan Miller fans. Maybe they get a Dylan Miller jersey, maybe they buy a Dylan Miller cube, right? Stuff like that. Um, I don't know what a Dylan Miller cube is now that I think about it, but I'm not. I'm just saying, right? Like there are a lot of ideas that you can do here, but really, probably the value proposition is being able to showcase to these individuals that we have top performers. They are awesome people. Get to know them. And also, while you're at the actual event space yourself, you're going to be able to browse all the different cool things about what cubing has to offer and all of our side quests and our side hobbies as well.
Yeah, I think something that's kind of interesting too is the top solvers in general are gonna have like such a great opportunity to try to market themselves as like personal brands and personalities. Dylan, what are you gonna do now that you're a full time cuber in order to become like, you know, the Hikaru of cubing? And like, do you think like cubing content's gonna change? Like, what do you think will change with these tournaments that will allow top solvers to be make personal brands?
Well, I think you're just PSL just gives the top solvers a platform, right? They had that beforehand, but not really to the same degree. I think just having something that can reach a non-cubing audience or just can reach the broader cubing audience as a whole is very, very important for everybody getting their personal brand. You get clippable moments, things that people can really connect with. I know there's going to be some interviews and some, potentially post-game talks at these events. That's also a good opportunity for them to show off their personality. Like you said, I'm a full-time cuber now, so just getting my name more out there just helps me do everything else that I want to do. It helps grow my channel, which helps grow my coaching business, which allows me to go to more competitions. It's kind of like everything helps everything else, and that's really, really important for me going forward. And I think it'll be great just to get more competitiveness in the scene. I think that's ultimately what is going to help us grow. And I think especially connecting with the personalities of all these top cubers is going to be really, really huge for them.
Totally. Chai, if anybody wanted to like help out with this league and to get involved in any way, whether, you know, they're someone who wants to volunteer and, you know, try to put on one of these events or, you know, maybe want to sponsor one of these events, how should they go about doing that?
Wow. Okay. So that's a good question because I realized that my answer is not standard. You hear the standard portion of it. So of course, so we have organization teams that we handpick to be able to run these events, right? Um, they are, the bread and butter. They are crucial to the success of the PSL, and we work with them very closely. We give them some standards in place, and we let them run with it, right? And you are able to join those organization teams because they will always have staff forms upon the open date of registration for any of these events. You'll be able to see all the perks that come with being a staff member, but I do believe that we will be requesting, and the organization team expects a really, really strong, capable staff member to be able to execute certain things that you might not be needing to do in a traditional WCA cubing competition, right? But of course, the PSL itself is an organization, and we are always looking for support. And actually, we will be doing job postings on LinkedIn where you'll be able to see anything that we need support with, and you'll be able to apply, and we can go through an entire application process. You should be able to have visibility directly from the PSL website, premierspeedkeepingleague.org, as that's where the LinkedIn page will direct you. So that's something that's interesting too. We will always be looking for support, and you'll see the most up to date postings on those sites.
Yeah, and I'm just curious because now we're entering this new era of like, people like sponsorships that, like Max Park and Prime. It's not so unreasonable at this point. For both of you guys, for both the league and your own personal selves, what brand do you want to be sponsored with? Like, what's your dream brand to have the league sponsored by, and like to have like your personal, image sponsored by?
Dylan, you want to go?
I've actually been thinking about this a lot. I have been looking to non-cubing sponsors as a way to kind of help me attend competitions or whatever. I've got a few in mind. I reached out to like a hand warmer company. I think that's a good overlap. I am a big Subway guy, dude. If I could get sponsored by Subway, they sponsor Steph Curry, dude. Imagine getting me on there. That'd be so sick. And dude, I like Herman Miller, Dylan Miller, Herman Miller. I need a chair, dude. My back is killing me. I cube all day. Please, I need something. So yeah, those are a few of them, just to name a few. But yeah, that'd be super sick. That's the goal.
Yeah, I think for me, obviously you think about manufacturers, right, and how they can continuously be involved in the PSL. But really, there's nothing off the table. I'm looking for partners all the time, right? And I hope that we're going to be able to engage in business discussions with a lot of awesome non-cubing businesses, um, and really keeping our options open and having an open mind is going to be pertinent for the growth of cubing, because of course capital is always the biggest issue when it comes to projects like these in the cubing space, right? As far as one that I really want to work with, I'm not sure if I'm supposed to share these kind of things. I think that would be a lot of biases, but that wouldn't be fun, right? So you know what, I'll give you a fun one. I think it would be pretty cool. um, so one issue at these events or competitions is the lack of snacks and food that's available. So what would be pretty cool is kind of similar to Prime here, um, that we would be able to be sponsored by a snack company that would be able to provide food for us at each event, but also have some sort of fiscal partnership. Uh, that would be really awesome, especially if we were to grow in the public space. That would give them a lot of great PR. But maybe one as an example, I hope everyone loves it, but Cheetos, right? Like, what if we what if we partner with Cheetos? I think that'd be a good one, right? And that would be
I'm shocked
similar to
it's not
Prime.
Starbucks. Why not Starbucks?
Yeah, it could be Starbucks. I'm not saying it can't be. But actually, that's somewhat of an inside joke. I don't think people know that. Yes, I'm employed by Starbucks. Not everyone knows that. So there's the tea there, in case you guys didn't know.
Yeah, I mean, way to rep your alma mater of Starbucks, dude. That's it's
Anything on the table, right? We want to keep an open mind, and any decision we make, really, we're making a decision keeping in mind how the professional keeper and how the audience is going to benefit from it. One thing I will say is I forgot to mention, this event specifically is designed to focus on not only on the event experience but on the actual broadcast as well. As you know, Marinik, we're going to be really focused on that. And that's really another part of the value proposition about being just a spectator. Let's say you buy a ticket, you're able to go in and you have a good time there. Well, now what I hope that you'll see is, yeah, you might not have an event right next to you in your backyard, but you'll be able to follow us. You'll be able to watch all the up to date content and broadcasts. Because really, if you think about it, how could you market these broadcasts? It could be just like how you do the NFL, right? We could basically say, tune in Saturday night for the PSL on Speakeasy TV. It's only 3 hours long. Block off some time in your schedule. Come join us. And really, through that, we hope that people will be able to enjoy cubing, even if they're not a cuber, and really be able to follow our best personalities, such as Dylan.
Yeah, totally. And once again, you can watch these live streams on Speedcubing TV. And you can also watch all the clips on both Speedcubing TV and the Premier Speedcubing League channel. So, and also follow along with all the personalities. So, I hope Dylan will be posting a lot of content as this is like coming out and he's traveling around. I hope all the other top solvers are, like bringing their personal brands to like the biggest it can possibly be, because this is such a great opportunity. I mean, we got such a controlled environment that we can choose the future, we can choose the destiny of where cubing's going in these moments. So the dreams, like, in the skies are, the skies are the limit basically for this kind of event. So it's gonna be a great experience, and it's gonna be a great experiment, to say the least. So I appreciate both you guys coming on and talking with me. Yeah, so check out the Premier Speedcubing League on Speedcubing TV. You can follow Dylan on his YouTube channel, Dilly Millie, right? Is that the correct
It's just
name?
Dylan Miller. It's just
Is it Dylan Miller? It's not Dilly Millie. Oh, dang.
nah.
And then the Premier Speedcubing League on it has their own YouTube channel too. So yeah, I appreciate both you guys coming on. This has been Plot Worthy with Matthew Marinick. See you guys on the other side.